Uno, dos, tres, uno, dos, tres. Sí. Bien.
A different language is a different vision of life. Federico Fellini. Buenos días, autoridades presentes, alumnos y maestros que nos acompañan el día de hoy. La Benemérita y Centenaria Escuela Normal del Estado de San Luis Potosí, a través del Departamento de Lenguas Extranjeras, agradecemos su presencia a la inauguración de la Semana de Inglés 2023, A Normal Way Facing the Future. Damos la bienvenida a las autoridades que nos acompañan el día de hoy. Doctor Francisco Hernández Ortiz, Director General de la Benemérita y Centenaria Escuela Normal del Estado de San Luis Potosí. Maestro José Manuel Villafuerte, especialista en la enseñanza del inglés del RELO, Regional English Language Office of the U.S. Embassy. Maestro Óscar Cruz, presidente de la Asociación Mexicana de Maestros de Inglés, Mextisol. Maestro Roberto Compeán Martínez, director de la Escuela Normal Superior de Querétaro. Doctor Francisco Chávez Nolasco, jefe de la Licenciatura de la Enseñanza y Aprendizaje del Inglés. Maestra Marcela Mireles, coordinadora académica de la Benemérita y Centenaria Escuela Normal del Estado. Este evento tiene como principal objetivo fortalecer el trabajo académico y cultural, así como la cooperación interinstitucional de la licenciatura en la enseñanza del inglés entre las escuelas normales. Contamos con la participación de la Escuela Normal Superior de Querétaro, Escuela Normal de Jalisco y también con la presencia de los alumnos de la Benemérita y Centenaria Escuela Normal del Estado de San Luis Potosí, quienes podrán participar en las diferentes actividades programadas durante la Semana de Inglés, tales como plenarias, talleres, presentaciones de proyectos y carteles. A continuación, unas palabras del director de la Escuela Normal Superior de Querétaro, maestro Roberto Compeán Martínez.
Muy buenos días a todos ustedes. Antes de mencionar un breve mensaje que traigo por aquí preparado, que como no traigo mis lentes y no alcanzo a ver, da lo mismo, entonces voy a decir lo que mi corazón en este momento me indique. Y quiero decir eso precisamente porque un 30 de junio de 1981, la maestra Sofía Saldaña Nieto, quien seguramente recordarán como una maestra inspiradora que forjó cientos de miles de maestros y que seguramente se convirtió en una gran leyenda, porque así como Pedro Vallejo, que fue el pionero e iniciador de esta normal, ella también nos inspiró a miles y miles de maestros a incursionar en esta maravillosa profesión que es la docencia. Más que un mensaje, quiero pedirles su autorización, sobre todo a las autoridades, al maestro Francisco, al maestro Ricardo, a las autoridades que nos acompañan, de un discurso preparado que me permitan mejor expresar un sentimiento y una emoción muy grande que tengo en este momento. Yo soy potosino y soy egresado de esta Benemérita y Centenaria Escuela Normal del Estado. En aquellos años llevaba por nombre Pedro Antonio de los Santos, pero me acaba de comentar el director que con el rango de Benemérita, ahora solamente se llama Benemérita y Centenaria Escuela Normal de San Luis Potosí. Yo creo que todos los que nos dedicamos a la docencia, fuimos tocados e inspirados por un maestro que nos abrió las puertas de su corazón y que decidimos seguir su ejemplo. Hoy me siento profundamente emocionado porque hace 42 años, reitero, un 30 de junio, en el Teatro de la Paz de esta ciudad, me entregaron el título de profesor de educación primaria. Coincidió que en aquellos años, precisamente en el 81, las normales del Estado, las beneméritas, más de 20 beneméritas que hay en el país, por decreto dejaron de tener plazas automáticas y en aquellos años, precisamente en el 80-81, inició en San Luis Potosí el subsistema de telesecundaria. Yo tenía un familiar por ahí en Querétaro y me dice, no les hagas caso, tú eres buen estudiante, no te van a dar plaza, te van a poner a concursar, mejor vente para Querétaro. Y entonces migré a Querétaro y 42 años estoy de regreso aquí en mi casa. Y como es mi casa, pues me siento muy emocionado y quiero compartir con ustedes esta gran emoción que sentí hace unos momentos cuando llegamos por la parte de atrás y vi mi casa, vi mi institución, mi benemérita institución, y recordé tantas cosas de esa época dorada que es la juventud. Pero también quiero decirles que nosotros, hoy los normalistas, tenemos una oportunidad histórica de trascender. Todos sabemos que los planes de estudio, los nuevos planes de estudio 2022, que por primera vez se están diseñando por maestros que están dentro de las aulas, son maestros que son sensibles a sus necesidades y que pretenden darle al normalismo un lugar que nos corresponde en la educación de nuestro México. Un lugar que muchas instituciones de educación superior de otras partes del país nos han quitado. Y a veces hasta se atreven a decirnos que pues no somos universitarios, no somos de instituciones como el TEC de Monterrey y que a veces no podemos incursionar en otras áreas. Y yo creo que hoy están equivocados. Y entonces, en 2022, tenemos esta maravillosa oportunidad, el normalismo mexicano, de demostrar de lo que estamos hechos. Le daremos a la sociedad mexicana, en breve tiempo, profesionistas mucho mejor preparados, con competencias más específicas y metodologías pedagógicas de vanguardia para afrontar la diversidad. Aprenderemos estrategias innovadoras del lenguaje de señas. Aprenderemos el método braille para comunicarnos con los débiles visuales y adquiriremos didácticas específicas de la inclusión que siempre han sido áreas de oportunidad del normalismo y de todos los que dan clase en otras instituciones del normalismo o de cualquier otra índole. Ante una sociedad más dinámica, demandante, competitiva, y cuyos cambios son cada vez más rápidos y vertiginosos, los normalistas nos estamos preparando para afrontar estos retos. Y creo que el evento de hoy, el evento que organiza esta benemérita institución, es una clara y extraordinaria muestra de que las normales transitan hacia un nuevo rumbo de modernidad, de profesionalismo y de mucha competitividad. No tenemos miedo los normalistas de enfrentarnos al futuro. Nos estamos preparando con mucho ahínco dentro de nuestras aulas y son nuestros propios maestros quienes están por primera vez y de manera histórica desarrollando los programas educativos que ustedes necesitan para educar a la juventud, a la adolescencia y a los niños de nuestro país. De verdad, doctor, agradezco infinitamente esta oportunidad que tengo en mi vida de venir a mi alma mater, a mi escuela, a mi institución, proveniente de otra escuela normal de otra parte del país, pero con las enseñanzas, el arraigo, el cariño de quien formó en mí como maestro, como docente, las bases de lo que ahora soy. Muchas gracias, doctor, muchas gracias, Ricardo, por estas oportunidades que nos diste de acercarnos con un contingente pequeñito de normalistas. Somos 10 alumnos y 3 maestros, pero con mucho cariño y con mucho gusto estaremos aquí compartiendo con ustedes esos 3 días. Muchas gracias. Gracias.
Hace uso de la palabra nuestro director, doctor Francisco Hernández Ortiz, director general de la Benemérita y Centenaria Escuela Normal del Estado de San Luis Potosí, quien dará por inaugurada esta semana de actividades de la licenciatura en enseñanza del aprendizaje del inglés.
Muy buenos días. Agradezco la presencia de todos ustedes esta mañana de hoy, martes 2 de mayo de 2023, en el inicio de un nuevo mes y desde luego también una semana. Agradezco la presencia de quienes están en el presidium el día de hoy. Quiero hacer un breve preámbulo, agradecerle al maestro Roberto Compeán Martínez, quien me ha antecedido en la palabra y que es ilustrativo el impacto social e histórico que ha tenido esta institución a lo largo de 174 años, donde sus egresados han ido a los diversos rincones del país y también del extranjero, porque está documentado. Personajes que han egresado de la historia nacional, de la historia política, de la historia de la educación, de la pedagogía, de la historia cultural, porque han contribuido en estos ámbitos. Y en el campo de la pedagogía, de la didáctica, vemos cómo el maestro Roberto Compeán Martínez ha asumido la gran encomienda que la institución le otorgó. Recuerdo el juramento de la Escuela Normal en su parte introductoria, en sus primeros versos, donde dice: somos almas comprometidas con el bien del hombre en todo tiempo y en todo lugar. Y yo creo que el maestro que egresa de esta institución sin duda lleva esa encomienda y que la hace patente en el día a día, y que es muy emotivo escuchar las palabras del maestro Roberto, y que ahora tiene la oportunidad de estar dirigiendo la Escuela Normal Superior de Querétaro. Agradezco también la presencia de el maestro José Manuel Villafuerte, quien tiene a bien de darnos el día de hoy una conferencia. Gracias por estar con nosotros, maestro José Manuel. Asimismo, agradecemos la presencia del maestro Óscar Cruz, presidente de la Asociación Nacional de Maestros de Enseñanza del Inglés. Asimismo, la presencia de la maestra Marcela Mireles Medina, directora académica, y al maestro Francisco Chávez Nolasco, jefe de Departamento de Lenguas Extranjeras. A todos ustedes, alumnas y alumnos que nos acompañan el día de hoy, la actividad tiene como finalidad establecer un espacio de reflexión y diálogo con especialistas y desde luego con la colaboración entusiasta y con el interés cognitivo por aprender por parte de los alumnos. La institución tiene como reto la formación de docentes para la enseñanza del idioma inglés. Por tanto, crear estos espacios de discusión ayudan a analizar los tópicos educativos, como es el caso en esta semana dedicada a la reflexión de la enseñanza y el aprendizaje del inglés como segundo idioma, para el caso de los estudiantes de educación básica, que debe ser enseñado como parte de la escolaridad de los niños y jóvenes. En consonancia con el Currículum Nacional de la Educación Básica, la Escuela Normal fortalece su proceso de formación de profesores en la enseñanza del inglés a través de estas actividades. Sin duda, actividad que se comparte con alumnas y alumnos de la Escuela Normal Superior de Querétaro, de la Escuela Normal de Jalisco. Sirva de apoyo para la profundización y discusión de las temáticas y sea también una oportunidad para el aprendizaje. Al mismo tiempo, ayuda a establecer lazos de colaboración entre alumnos y profesores. Agradezco la presencia y participación de todos ustedes, al maestro José Manuel Villafuerte, quien inicia esta actividad a través de su conferencia. Muchas gracias, maestro. A las comisiones organizadoras les agradezco también la iniciativa y desde luego todos los preparativos para que esta actividad se lleve a cabo en los mejores términos. A nombre del Sistema Educativo Estatal Regular y de la Benemérita y Centenaria Escuela Normal del Estado, pido a todos los presentes nos pongamos de pie para dar paso a la inauguración. A nombre del Sistema Educativo Estatal Regular y de la Benemérita y Centenaria Escuela Normal del Estado, damos por inaugurada esta semana de trabajo sobre la reflexión de la enseñanza del idioma inglés, siendo las 9:32 del día 2 de mayo del 2023. Sirva de experiencia y que ayude a la formación docente. Muchas gracias.
After the opening of the English Week, it is an honor for us to introduce our first speaker, José Manuel Villafuerte, who is going to talk about challenges, needs, and career opportunities in English language teaching in Mexico. He holds an MBA and an undergraduate degree in English literature with a minor in didactics. He has been in the field of the ELT since 1988, specializing in curriculum design, teacher training, quality teaching, program administration, editing of ELT books, video and multimedia materials. He's also a materials writer and co-author of a popular series of English workbooks for middle school. He was president of the Mestizo Mexico City chapter in 2011 and has worked for the Regional English Language Office of the U.S. Embassy since 2005. Please join me in welcoming José Manuel Villafuerte.
Okay, good. Okay, good morning, everyone. I'm an English teacher, so I'm not really comfortable in a podium. I need to move around, okay? You're very quiet. Are you all right? Did you have breakfast? Oh, come on. We're always telling students that breakfast is the most important meal of the day, and you didn't have breakfast. Did you have coffee? No, Jesus. Okay. We really have to do something about that. Okay. This is not only a talk, all right? This is more a participation. So I'm hoping that you will find this interesting, useful, but also, as the director said, as the principal said, that you will find it an opportunity for reflection, okay? So, the first thing I want you to do, turn to the people around you, and I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to discuss this question. Why is English important? Okay? So you have 2 minutes, and you have wasted 5 seconds looking at me. Go on. Okay, your 2 minutes are up. Okay, let's work with an attention getter. I'm going to say class, class, and you answer yes, yes. Class, class? Yes, yes. Class, class? Yes, yes. Class, class, class? Yes, yes. Very good, you got it. Okay, so let's see. Why is English important? Who wants to take a stab at it. There are many multiple answers, so... Okay?
Well, I was discussing with my partners and we agreed that one of the most important things of English is that you share your ideas with other people from other parts of the world, and also it works as a lingua franca, and it helps you to make long life relationships with other people.
Wonderful, okay. All right, you're from Querétaro, right? Score, visitors 1, locals 0.
Sí.
Who else wants to share? One at a time, guys. Okay.
Hi, good morning. English is important because it's well known that right now it's the language that's helping us to communicate not only with other countries in America, but also with other cultures all around the world. So this is going to help us to expand our boundaries in terms of what we can become as a person and as a society.
Awesome. Culture is very important. Thank you. Okay. Score, females 2, males 0. One more. Doesn't have to be a male if males want to lose. So what? Okay, last one.
Hi, I'm also from UNSQ of Querétaro. So, yeah. So, why is English important? I think that in the global world that we're living now, there's a lot of information in English that we need to know, and the only fact that we are going to be reaching it is knowing English. So if we speak English, if we understand English, and we know reading comprehension about English, we can reach all these documents that most of them are in English.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Okay. As a matter of fact, you have mentioned some ideas that I don't have on this slide, but let's go with what I have, okay? And I'm going to ask you a little favor. After I mention each of the points that I came up with, I'm going to ask you if you are in agreement with this to stand up, okay? And I will tell you when. Okay, so the first thing that I want to make important here, speaking a second language or an additional language opens doors. It doesn't matter if it is English, French, Italian, German, Japanese, Nahuatl, okay? A second language opens up opportunities. We are speaking about English because it happens to be the most commonly used language in the world nowadays. Okay, so first of all, communication and travel. As you mentioned, English is an international language for communication. It's a lingua franca, and I have some interesting figures here. Okay, there are 1.3 billion speakers worldwide. Okay, 1.300 millones de hablantes de inglés. 1 of every 4 people is a native English speaker. Okay, it's the official language in 75 countries, and it is used in more than 160. There are about 180 something countries in the world. English is also the language of tourism. If you visit a place, you go to a hotel, you go to a restaurant, somebody will speak English. You want to hire a tour guide, chances are they speak English and maybe some other language besides the local one. Okay, so if you agree that English is important because of communication and travel, please stand up. Okay, thank you, sit down. Okay, another reason why it is important, media and entertainment. Okay, whether it is print media like books, magazines, journals, newspapers or electronic media, okay, blogs, whatever you have, and entertainment also, okay? If you think about movies, if you think about music, lots of things are in English. Hollywood is one of the largest industries in the world. And if you don't think that speaking English opens doors, okay, bear with me, I'm 55 years old, okay? I could be your grandpa. Well, no, not your grandpa, but maybe your uncle. Probably you have heard about ABBA because of the film Mamma Mia. What nationality was ABBA? Swedish. What language did they sing in? English. I don't know if you have heard about Roxette. Roxette was a Norwegian group. What language did they speak in? English. Okay, Julio Iglesias, nationality, or Enrique Iglesias even? Spaniards. But do they sing in Spanish? Yes, and they also sing in English. So if you really want to make it global, usually English is the way to go. Academic and career opportunities. If you want to study abroad, you usually have to take a certification exam. For example, APTIS, TOEFL, Cambridge. Nope. TKT is a methodology certification, not a language certification. So if you want to study abroad, TKT doesn't help you. Okay? You need to take TOEFL, TOEIC, APTIS, maybe, Cambridge examinations, all right? And more universities are offering programs completely in English. I read this news some time ago. I couldn't believe it. The French hate English. And the French are very defensive of their language. They are very proud of their language. There is a very, very big problem in France right now because some universities are beginning to offer programs completely in English to attract international students. And obviously, the common people are saying, why in English? We're French. C'est la vie. Okay? And career opportunities, it doesn't really matter what you want to study. If you speak English, again, because it's a lingua franca, you may have opportunities to get a better job, to get promotions more easily, and even to relocate. I have some classmates from when I was in high school who are currently living in different countries in Europe and Asia because they speak English. And when they were offered a position there, they said, yes, I can go. Lastly, and this is an interesting bit of information, people who speak English can make between 5 and 30% more than people who don't. 30% more is a lot of money. Business and international relations. Oh, I forgot to say, sorry. If you agree that academic and career opportunities is important, please stand up. Okay, good, thank you. Sit down. All right. Media and entertainment, I think that everybody likes, so I'm not going to make you stand up for that one. Business and international relations. Okay. English is not only the language of international business, okay? As I said, you have greater opportunities to advance your career, but it is also the language of diplomacy and international organizations such as the United Nations, NATO, that is the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, in Spanish we call it OTAN, and the European Union. Okay? If you think this is important, please stand up. Okay, more people are standing up. All right, thank you. Sit down. Okay. If you notice, some of these are overlapping. Business and international relations also have to do with academic and career opportunities. And if you're wondering why I'm having you stand up, it's also to keep you awake. Okay, I told you, I'm a teacher. I have to look for ways to keep my students alert. Okay, science and technology. Obviously, English is the language of science. About half of all the research that is made in the world is published in English. And if it is published in another language, guess what? You have to have a summary in English so that other people can have access to that and know what it is about. Also, English is the language of science. Aviation, international aviation has to speak in English. Okay? And computers. If you want to program computers, usually code is in English. So if you think that science and technology are important, please stand up. All right, thank you. Sit down. The people who are not standing up, either you have very high standards or you're asleep. Okay, and lastly, the internet. More than half of the content on the internet is in English, and more than 2/3 of the content on YouTube is in English too. So, as it was mentioned, if you speak English, then you have access to different ways of thinking, different cultures. You have communication with other people all over the world. Some years ago, I attended TESOL, Teachers of English to Speakers of Other Languages. It's an international convention that takes place in the United States usually. And I started talking to Russians, to Singaporeans, colleagues from all over the world. And we were able to do that because we spoke English. Okay? All right. Now, let's also put it in context. If we are going to speak about needs and opportunities, we need to speak about history a little bit. Okay? These are some milestones, some important events in the history of English in Mexico. In the 1930s, lengua extranjera made its debut in the curriculum of escuela secundaria. Right? And English was the language of choice. French has also been battling. The French embassy has been making lots of efforts to promote French learning in other schools. And oddly enough, although in 1930s, who was the president of Mexico in the 1930s? Do you remember? Around the 1930s, a little bit before, it had been Porfirio Díaz. Okay, les queda de tarea. But we are speaking 1930s. French was the language of academia. Mexico thought that French was so important that people said that children came from Paris. I must be doing wrong because I saw somebody yawning there. Nowadays, we know that children do not come from Paris. They come from Estados Unidos. Okay, so that tells you the change. But English became mandatory as lengua extranjera. In 1993, we are speaking 60 years down the line. Finally, there is a change. When English started being taught, it was the grammar translation method. You didn't need to speak English. You need to know the grammar, you needed to be able to use a dictionary, and boom, you were an English teacher. You had to tell people simply how to translate. But finally, in the year 1993, people discovered that it was important not only to know about the language, but actually use it for communication. In 1994, North American Free Trade Agreement, Tratado de Libre Comercio, TLC-CAN. Espérate, José Manuel, what does that have to do with it? That's economy, that's politics. What does it have to do with English? Wait a second.
Sorry, maybe you are talking about policy and economic because all of those topics involve education. Our programs are suggested by the political headmasters.
Caliente, caliente. Any other ideas? Okay. All right. NAFTA is important for a very simple reason. Before NAFTA, if you were a private school and you were bilingual, you offered your students a plus. You speak English. After NAFTA, overnight, everybody had to be bilingual. If you were a private school and you were not bilingual, you were out of the game. And I can tell you because I was there. I was working for different schools that were suddenly desperately looking for ways to become bilingual and start offering English. They were hiring English teachers. It was a very, very good time to be an English teacher. I know because I got a higher paying job. Okay, in 2008, PENIEV, what does PENIEV mean?
I think it's like that, Plan Nacional de Inglés en Educación Básica.
Excellent, it's just not plan, it's programa. Yes, it was started under the Calderón administration. As you know, English used to be mandatory in secundaria, starting in grade 7. PENIEV added 7 years of English, about 100 hours of English per year, from preschool to 6th grade, on paper, in theory. Why? Because more or less, at this time, SEP tried to figure out how many English teachers there were. Between secundarias técnicas generales and telesecundaria, there were 12,000 English teachers in Mexico, more or less. To cover from preschool to 6th grade, they needed, give or take, 100,000 English teachers. Obviously, coverage is better in urban areas. If you're in rural areas, chances are you don't have English. In 2011, CENI makes its appearance. What does CENI stand for? ¿Qué significa CENI? Come on, you should know this. You need it. Okay, somebody said it around here?
Es el Centro Nacional del Nivel del Inglés.
Caliente, caliente, but not quite. Somebody? Certificación Nacional de Nivel de Idioma. And it doesn't only cover English, it covers French, Italian, German, Japanese, Chinese. It covers, I think, about 15 different languages. Okay? And it is just an instrument, it is not an exam. If you get a TOEFL or a Cambridge, an APTIS, whatever, an exam that is normed to CENI, you just take it to the CENI office and they give you your certificate. That is very important for two reasons. Number one, if I am an employer and this young lady here comes to me with a TOEFL and this young gentleman here comes to me with a Cambridge First Certificate and somebody over here comes with an APTIS, who has the higher level? I don't know, I'm no expert. But if I tell them, go and get your CENI, then they come back, you have a level 14, you have a level 12, you have a level 14 too, so these two have the higher level. Then I can make decisions. And number two, it also established that you needed a certain minimum level to become an English teacher. You have to have, I think, a level 12 to be an English teacher. That was important. It was the first time that a standard was brought to the field. Before this, there was none. 2015, Peña Nieto. We know that parties don't usually like one another. If you remember, Calderón was from what party? PAN. Peña Nieto? PRI. So, the problem with Mexico is, and with lots of countries in Latin America is we have no continuity. So they disappeared PENIEV quietly, they let it die, and suddenly they came up with, we need an English program in elementary school. Wait, what? Didn't we have one? Shh. We need an English program in elementary school. Yes, we do, sir. So they came up with Programa Nacional de Inglés. Okay. 2017, al cuarto para la hora, 1 year before the Peña Nieto administration is out the door, Nuño comes out, announces Estrategia Nacional para el Fortalecimiento y la Transformación de las Escuelas Normales. That meant that they were going to hire 2,000 qualified, highly qualified English instructors to work at all the normales, not only normales superiores, normal básica, superior, preescolar, educación física y educación especial, because they wanted every single normalista to have 12 hours of English a week. 6 face-to-face, 6 online. The idea was that in 2021 or 22, we would have the first generation of bilingual teachers in public schools. And 20 years down the line, in 2042, we will have the first generation of bilingual Mexicans in universities. That was the plan. But then in 2018, who becomes president? AMLO. And what party is AMLO from? Morena. Is he going to continue with this plan? Absolutely not. He starts slashing the budget. The number of hours of instruction is cut severely in many normales. So we have already discussed, English is very important. Yes, good. Let's cut it out. Let's forget about English. I'm sorry, does this make sense to you? But well, okay. And then in 2020, we have the COVID pandemic. This obviously had a huge impact on education because children were not going to school. And as we say in Spanish, a todos nos agarró con los dedos en la puerta. Y nos los machucó. Why? Nobody was really prepared to teach online. We didn't know much about it. Very few people were really ready for this. We had to learn on the fly, baptism by fire. But then it raised the bar. Now you need to know how to teach face-to-face, how to teach online, how to teach hybrid. And even if you're teaching face-to-face, you have to use online resources. Made us go a step further. And another result of the COVID-19 pandemic. Have you heard about Open English? Okay, what is Open English? Who said it?
But it's school, like it's a school for having extra classes.
Exactly, it's online. It's an English school. The only difference from Harmon Hall, for example, is that it's online. Fully online, because Harmon Hall still has physical schools. All right? Nowadays, you can work for international schools from Mexico. And they will pay you in dollars. Or at least the equivalent, obviously. You can also upload your curriculum. I think there is a site called Preply or something like that, where there are language teachers from different languages from all over the world. So people go there and say they want to learn, I don't know, Italian. So they look for an Italian teacher. Where does the teacher live? What qualifications does she have? And they hire the teacher directly. So now you can be teaching students not only in Mexico, you can be teaching international students. Okay, which brings us to the challenges. Okay, I already said English has stopped receiving the support it used to have. And it wasn't much to start with. I have to say, PRONI was subject to the availability of funds. That meant no money, no PRONI. What are the challenges? From my point of view, professional development. In the past, hey, you lived in the United States, you speak English, right? Right, good. You're an English teacher, órale vas. Oye, es que yo no sé dar clases, me vale. You speak English. How hard can it be? Okay? So we still have a lot of those teachers out in the schools. They are people who are not interested in professional development. They already have their plaza, they are doing well, they are getting paid. Que se caiga el mundo. Okay? So that's one. People like you, studying to be teachers, need to fulfill two requirements. One of them is English. You need to have the language level. Number two, methodology. That's what Normales have always been very strong at. Incentives for in-service teachers. In Mexico, it doesn't matter if you have a doctorado or you just finished high school. Usually, English teachers get paid the exact same amount. There is very little room for advancement. You're not going to become a coordinator easily. Why? Usually because there is no coordinator. So, what's the incentive for becoming a better teacher? Articulation between educational levels. You study English, if you're lucky, in kindergarten, then elementary school. You get to secundaria, and what happens in secundaria? You start from scratch again. Verbo to be, a ver niños, repitan. I am, you are, he is. Okay, 3 more years of English. You get to prepa, bachillerato, whatever it is. What happens? Verbo to be. I am, you are, he is. You come to university. What happens? Mexicans are experts in verb to be. And guess what? Everybody hates it. There is no progression between academic levels. This is not working. ¿Le podemos dar clic a la siguiente, por favor? Porque esta cosa ya no quiere. No sé si se le acabó la pila. ¿O es la compu la que dejó de responder? Okay, thank you. Gracias. Okay, standardized assessments. Okay. Let's say that Oscar and I work for the same school. Oscar here, the president of Mestizo, is super strict. I, on the other hand, soy un transatlántico de su tamaño. So, if a student with Oscar gets a 6, maybe with me, she's getting an 8. We don't have standards. Not only that, because Mexican schools cannot cope with backlog, we cannot fail more than a certain number of students in a classroom. That means that Mexican teachers have to be extremely creative with how we give grades. Método de la campana, de la curva, de esto, del otro, tareas adicionales, puntos por esto, puntos por... Why? Because we need to pass students. But we don't really know who speaks English and at what level. Credibility as a subject. I worked at a private school where English's name, unofficially, was Recreo 2. I'm serious. And you tell students, hey, we're going to have English class. Do your students say, yay? Or they say, Usually English is either a drag or a punishment. Nobody believes in English. If you go to university, you have to have a certain average. Guess what? English is not part of that average. You just need to pass English. ¿Para qué te sirve el inglés? Tú pásalo y ya. Get the requirement out. And finally, coverage. As I said, in the city it's pretty good. You may have up to 80, 90%, sometimes 100% coverage. Not usually, because some teachers are sick, or you have schools where nobody wants to go, whatever. In rural areas, you're lucky if you get to 50% coverage in English. What are the needs? Okay, let's go back. These are the challenges. I want you to turn to the people next to you, and again, you're going to have 2 minutes. Pick just one challenge. What needs do you think come from that challenge? What needs do you see stemming from that challenge? You have 2 minutes, and again, you have wasted 6 or 7 looking at me. Órale, a platicar, chicos. Class, class? Class, class, class? Okay, good, you got it. Another attention getter. Okay? If I say 1, 2, 3, eyes on me, you stop whatever you're doing and you look at me. 1, 2, 3, eyes on me. Good. All right. These are the needs that I envision. First of all, we need more engagement in research. Okay, and when I speak about research, I don't mean why did the T have the crossing halfway through, but when it is capital, it goes all the way up. That helps nobody. I mean more like action research. Okay, what can we do to get our students more involved? What can we do to get our students learning better? What can we do to keep active? And communities of practice. What is a community of practice? Sometimes it is an association like Mestizo, a place where you can go and speak to other people about what's going on. Hey, I'm having this problem with my students. Have you had it? Oh yeah, it's a nightmare. What have you done? Well, I've tried this. Well, what about you try this or that? Or what about we do this? Sometimes it's an online community. Sometimes it's just an academia inside your own school. We also need better work conditions. But guess what? Nobody's going to offer you a higher salary just because. If we want better work conditions, we need to professionalize ourselves. We need to take things into our own hands. If I go and I ask for a job, okay, maestro, ¿me da trabajo? Le cobro 30,000 pesos al mes. Ay, no, maestro, ¿cómo cree? Allá afuera hay 30 o 40 personas que lo hacen por 2,500 al mes. Who's responsible for that? We are getting the cheap. We are selling our profession for peanuts, and then we complain that people don't appreciate us. Changes in educational policies. As I said, there is no articulation between academic levels. We need somebody to get to Secretaría de Educación and say, a ver, we really need to get this act together. If children are going to learn this in secundaria, they need to start from here in prepa, maybe a little bit before, just to review, whatever, so that when they get to university, they are at this level. Guess who has to go to Secretaría de Educación, chiquitos? You! You are the ones who are young enough to go to Secretaría de Educación. My generation, we're almost out the door. Yo me jubilo en 10 años. You still have a long time before you. Standardized qualifications for ELT professionals. As I said, CENI already has a certain bar, but most people, if they want to become English teachers, they have to get a TKT certification. Okay, thank God for TKT, at least there is something. But guess what? Y no les voy a decir que es British. Sí, sí es British, pero eso a mí no me importa. I'm an English teacher, period. So I don't care. The problem is, TKT is theoretical. It doesn't have a practicum part. You don't go out and teach and really apply what you are learning. That means that it's like somebody telling me that because I know anatomy, I can be a doctor. That's not true. We need the theory and we need the practice. Larger number of qualified ELT professionals. As I said, we need 100,000 qualified English teachers Mexico-wide. Where are we going to get them? I talked to David Copperfield last time I was in Vegas, and he said he was busy. So forget about him. We need to take matters into our own hands. Para los que no sepan quién es David Copperfield, fue un mago muy famoso allá por los 80s. Okay, and finally, another important need, if we really want to become a bilingual country or a more proficient English country, we need to start with content-based instruction. What does that mean, José Manuel? Teaching history, science, geography, in English. Okay? And we also need English for specific purposes. You go to any university, everybody gets the same general conversational English. Guess what? If I am going to be an engineer, I need technical terms. If I am going to be a lawyer, I need to be able to write a certain way. English is very different in different disciplines. And that's what we are lacking. How can you become better teachers? Okay, aquí viene mi infomercial. ¿Qué dijeron? ¿Va de grapas? No! I have to get something out of this. More importantly, the US Embassy has to get something out of this because they are paying for my salary. And the trip to come here. So, okay. We have some webinars. What does webinars mean? Webinars are web seminars. Okay? These are short academic sessions on topics of English language methodology. They are broadcast on Facebook Live. Oye, es que yo no tengo Facebook. No problem. You don't need a Facebook account. It's Facebook Live. Te metes a Facebook, le picas en donde dice Live Video y lo puedes ver. Period. If you have a Facebook account, you can participate in real time with comments or questions. If you don't, no problem. Okay, está chido. It is broadcast on facebook.com. Oh, I forgot a slash, sorry. / American English for Educators. We have 3 series a year, 6 sessions per series, every other week, 1 hour each. Okay, ¿cuándo? Wednesday, 6 in the morning, 11 in the morning also. Ay, es que ahora estoy en clase. Okay, you can watch the recordings. They stay on Facebook afterwards. And after each session, we publish a link to answer a short questionnaire. Only 3 questions. If you answer at least 2 of them correctly, you get an electronic badge. What is an electronic badge? It's a certificate. It's a certificate that you can upload to your social media to show that you are having professional development. Okay? And if you want to know where to find the calendar for the next series, which is going to start on May 17th, we have this big chorizo down here, this Spanish sausage, or you can just go to facebook.com, American English for Educators, and you'll find it there. You can also contact me, and I'll give you my information at the end. Okay? We also have online courses. These are, again, some are methodology courses, some others are English for specific purposes. Massive open online courses. Massive because thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people even, can take them together at the same time. Open, there are no requirements. Everybody can take them. They are open to everyone. And they are free. Online, self-explanatory. Okay? In English teaching methodology, we're going to have we currently have one open on using educational technology in the English classroom. And that one is going to remain open until June 25th. Teaching grammar communicatively is going to open on May 8th. Creating and implementing online courses opens on July 17. And fostering students' motivation and engagement opens on September 13. Okay. So if you are interested, how much time do I need to devote? 1 to 2 hours per day. How long? 5 weeks. Do I get a certificate? Yes. Hell yes. You're putting in work, you get the certificate. How much do I need for the certificate? At least 70% of the credits to get a certificate. We also have English for specific purposes, and this one can be for students and teachers from prepa and university level. Okay? We currently have one open on tourism. We're going to have another one on career development, media literacy. We have others, one that is on science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. We also have business and entrepreneurship and journalism. The offerings change every so often, and you can find them there, openenglishprograms.org. Okay, OPEN stands for Online Professional English Network. This is not Open English. Okay, cuando me dijeron que se iba a llamar Open, yo les dije, no, por favor, no. They didn't pay attention. And that brings us to career opportunities. Okay, and because we don't have much time left, this time you cannot speak to anybody else. If you have an idea what else you can do besides being a classroom teacher, please raise your hand so I can give you the microphone. Oscar.
You can be a trainer.
Of course. Oscar is a trainer. Yes.
You can also be a translator.
Thank you. What else?
Like a volunteer abroad? Okay. For the UN?
You can be happy just consuming all the media, social media, and Hollywood films.
That's not going to put bread in your jar, as Billy Joel says. But yeah, it's an option. Any other ideas? Okay, these are my ideas. Probably there are more out there. And these are my ideas because this is a lot of what I have been doing. You can become a teacher educator. Pueden ser profesores normalistas. Okay? You can also become a trainer. Usually, publishers are looking for academic consultants because when they put out a book, they need to sing the praises of the book and teach teachers who are going to buy that book how to use it. Okay? You can also be a mentor. What is a mentor? A more experienced teacher who pairs with a novice teacher and helps them. Oye, a ver cómo te está yendo, qué broncas tienes, con qué te puedo ayudar. ¿Se te ha ocurrido probar con esto? That sort of thing. And you can do it for free or you can charge for it. You can create your own training course and charge for it. You can become a program administrator. ¿Qué fregados es eso? Okay, a director, a coordinator. You can even start your own school. You can become an author or a materials developer. Dear Betty Azar, God bless her heart, she was an English teacher. She came up with her own grammar worksheets, compiled them, put them in an English book called English Grammar. She's a filthy millionaire, for God's sake. Jeremy Harmer, he was an English teacher in Guadalajara. He was one of the founders of Mestizo. He is a world-class presenter. Do you know how much Jeremy Harmer charges per presentation? Ask Oscar. He makes Luis Miguel look like an amateur. And there are some teachers in the United States who have created a network. So if they have good materials, they upload them to the network for sale. So you want my materials, you pay for them. You don't need to be a genius. You just need to have some ideas. You can be a curriculum designer. Okay, you can create your own program, your own method. You can start your own school, as I said. You can start your own online business. Háganle la competencia Open English, chavos. There's money, there's serious money in that. Okay? You can also work for Secretaría de Educación Pública and say, okay, let's get our act together. If children learn this in secundaria, they need to learn this in prepa. You can also become a consultant or an advisor. As I said, you can be an academic consultant for a publisher, but you can also create your own consulting business. There are private schools that pay good money for someone to tell them how to improve things and do them better. You can be a researcher. Una plaza de investigador, profesor investigador C en la UNAM pays well. UNAM usually pays peanut, but profesor investigador C, hay que hablarle de usted. It's serious money. Or, Oscar, can you stand up? You can become an association leader. How long have you been in Mexisol, Oscar? Okay, 20 years, give or take. Okay, whatever. Oscar has been involved in Mexisol, Oaxaca chapter, his native home state. Okay, he has been active also in the association on the national level. He's currently the national president. Okay, this is my contact information. I hope that this gave you some ideas, that it opened up your panorama. Okay, RELO Mexico is a generic email address. Usually I'm the one answering it. If you want program announcements and learning tips, we have a Facebook, which is OELP Mexico, Office of English Language Programs in Mexico. That was the name before we became RELO, sorry. And Facebook doesn't let you change the name. And finally, if you want free downloadable resources, what resources? Songs, electronic and audiobooks, board games and card games, teacher's manuals, different things, go to americanenglish.state.gov. No se la van a acabar, really. They keep uploading resources every so often. So, just to conclude, some time ago, I was at a gathering with a colleague, and somebody asked her, so what do you do? And she said, I'm an engineer. Yes, she's an engineer, but she has been teaching English since she was 20 years old. We're speaking more than 30 years of being an English teacher. She has never worked in engineering. I looked at her, and then they asked me, and what do you do? And I said, I'm an English teacher. ¿Y no te mueres de hambre? As a matter of fact, no. I am proud of being an English teacher. And if we want people to respect us, if we want people to appreciate us, if we want people to pay us well for what we do, hell, I'm an English teacher, and I am proud of it. I hope you're proud of it too. Go out and take the world.
Now we have a few minutes for questions and comments.
Questions can be in Spanish, no problem. Questions can be in Spanish, no problem. Yes, wait a second.
Thank you. My question goes to the challenges because you said something about the development of the teachers and the motivation. I I don't know because it could be my exception, not the rule, where I has been taught by teachers who doesn't have any authority or they are really laid back in their chairs, just making everything except teaching. But I think that they have very really nice prices to teach, but how they can or how we can get that authority teacher.
That's a good question. As I said, first of all, you have to respect yourself and believe in yourself. Be the best professional you can be. And start selling yourself. Other teachers do. Other teachers do. And I said, I don't care about other teachers. Rules cut both. To be on time because I am on time. I ask you to wear your uniform because I wear my suit. Prepare my classes. I ask you not to eat in class because you will never see me come into class with my donut and my coffee. I'm sorry I forgot to turn off my phone. It will never happen again. And if you want to scold me and you want to report me, do it. You have all the right. I shouldn't have done this. My students started being more cooperative and respecting me more after that.
Okay, it's not exactly a question, it's a comment. I think, okay, everything you mentioned is very important. Most of our students, when they are done, they go and sometimes they see a very small world, and they see, or they think that if they are not part of the system, they have no options to work. And it is a bit frustrating because you know that they are able to do a lot of things, but they need to see more options to do something with everything they know. And I was going to mention something else that was very interesting. Some of our students go to teach English to different places. For example, now we have recently one of the ex-students from here. She is teaching English in Spain, but she knows Spanish. I think it's not her L1, but it's a good option. And we have today English and Spanish major here, so probably it is a good option for them to see all the things they can do because they know the didactics to teach Spanish. And if they know more, not just Spanish, they will have like a very wide world to conquer. Okay, and I think that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. About this, it's true. Many of us think we are in classroom teacher mode. We think that the classroom and the system is all there is. Years ago, when I told my father that I wanted to be an English teacher, he's a lawyer. His father was a lawyer. I am the oldest son. They expected me to take over the lawyer's buffet. And I said, I'm going to be an English teacher. And he said, te me vas a morir de hambre. I proved him wrong. Because I thought out of the box, I started doing more things. And thank God, I make a good living. I've been able to travel. Hell, I am able to be here with you today, for crying out loud. Any other questions, comments? I think we can afford one more. No es obligación, pero pues ya estamos aquí. Okay. And one last bit of food for thought. Remember that we do not only teach English. First and foremost, we teach people. Because many times we are so worried about finishing the book and covering the program that we forget about our students. The students are the reason why we are doing this. God bless you.
Okay, thank you, Teacher José Manuel, for sharing this valuable information with us. A nombre de la Benemérita y Centenaria Escuela Normal del Estado de San Luis Potosí, otorga la presente constancia al maestro José Manuel Villafuerte por impartir la conferencia Challenges, Needs and Career Opportunities in English Language Teaching in Mexico, dirigido a docentes y docentes en formación en la enseñanza de lenguas extranjeras.
Guys, before you leave, and okay, I'm going to say for everyone. So, el programa está pegado, el QR del programa, por si gustan acompañarnos en más actividades, está pegado en algunos lugares de la escuela. Si no, en la página pueden buscar la liga. We have the spelling bee at noon, and now at 11 we have two different presentations. One is posgrado, and the other one, sala de directores, okay? And if you want to join us for the rest of the week, it's kind of short, but it's going to be very useful. Thank you.